Don't buy music from the bands from your local scene just because they are from your local scene. Spend your money on good music. If your local scene has good music, then great, but don't just support your local scene for the sake of supporting your local scene. Okay, so this video is going to be a bit of a frustration vent of mine, because the other day I was browsing Facebook, as you do, and I happened across a video that was like, oh, there's this venue that's shutting down, no one goes to it anymore, they've put on some really good new bands but no one goes to it, no one spends any money, so it's shutting down. You need to get out there and support your local scene, start buying the music, start buying the beers from these venues. And it just got me thinking, why should I? What are those bands offering that I can't get elsewhere? If you're thinking of the music scene like a business, like you should be, business works like supply and demand. There is far too much supply for the demand in the music scene. There are far too many bands and artists than there are people wanting to listen to them. If that venue is shutting down because they don't make enough money from their gig nights, that's not my fault. That's not the customer's fault. If they're not offering anything that makes the customers want to go in and spend money to keep that venue afloat, that's not our fault. The responsibility for that lies with the venue for not booking bands that people want to come and see and spend money watching. If your cupcake business is going out of business because no one is buying your cupcakes, that's not the potential customer's fault. Maybe your cupcakes aren't worth buying because they're not that good, maybe? And again, I want to reiterate that this video is not a slander to people saying support your local scene. I'm not dissing local bands. I'm not saying that, oh, bands are shit, you shouldn't spend money on them. This is just a presumption that people have where they think, oh, my local scene, I need to go out and be supporting it, I need to go and spend money on all these bands that I don't even really like, but I'll say I like them just to appear cool. That's the problem. I saw something else as well it was a cover band describing their experience playing a wedding. It went something like this. We have spent $2,000 between us on our equipment. We have spent $3,000 on a van that we can use to travel from place to place. We have lost some money because we've took time off work to rehearse for this, and we are being paid 200 quid. First of all, why should anyone be paying you more than you're worth just because you've spent a load of money on your music? There is no direct correlation between how much you spend making your music and what your music is worth. If you're a painter and you use exotic ingredients in your paint, and you can say, oh yeah, I've fucking gone to the Amazon jungle, I've picked this rare fruit and I use it to make my reds. That doesn't make the painting any better. That's not gonna make me want to buy your painting just because you say you've done that. If Leonardo da Vinci decided, I'm gonna dive down to the bottom of the sea and I'm gonna get this really rare squid and I'm gonna get the ink from that to make my purple, that would be worth a lot of money because Leonardo da Vinci has proved that his product is worth a lot of money. An average painter on the street hasn't done that yet, so why the hell should their painting be worth anything near what Leonardo da Vinci's would be? If Leonardo da Vinci adds all this extra shit to his paintings, all these rare ingredients, that would bump his price up, but only because that he's already proven that his product is already worth a lot.
Don't expect that to happen to your music.
This is the core problem. Anyone who makes music expects that they should be earning money from it. We went to an event the other day, didn't we, Lanny? We went to an event held by the PPL, which is a company that does master rights licensing for music. And there was a woman there, and she was saying, I've made some music and it's getting like maybe 100-200 views on YouTube, why am I not earning any money? And it's like, one, fucking you don't earn money from YouTube unless you're massive, and why should you be earning money for something that's not attracting any attention? And as sad as it sounds, no matter how good her music is, if it's not attracting attention, then it isn't worth anything. Yes, I grant that is a really cynical way of looking at it, but that's the fact. That's the way business works.
It's not necessarily the case that it's not worth something, though. It's just the fact that you aren't owed anything. It might be worth £10 for your album.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's just not what anyone's currently paying for it.
Yeah. That's my mistake. It's not about what it's worth, it's about, what the fuck was it?
What you're owed.
Yeah, it's about thinking you're owed something when you're really not. A lot of bands, they come out into the world and think, oh yeah, we're gonna make it. They think they're owed all these fans and all this praise just for being a band, and they're really not. There are fucking thousands of bands in the world. Like, probably more. There's probably fucking millions of bands in the world, and how many of them get international praise? Like, less than fucking 2%. I would say.
Way less than that.
You think?
I would say so, yeah. Because you've got so many bands that get to the national level. They don't get to the international kind of critically acclaimed, massive, huge bands. So if you're talking maybe a few hundred at any one time, That, as a percentage of a few million, is 0. Whatever percent.
Yeah. If you're spending a lot of money on your music to make it, you're spending a lot of time and effort and money into making it the best that you can, it's going to be worth a lot to you. This thing is worth all that money and time and effort that you've put into it. That doesn't mean it's going to be worth anything to anybody else. And as sad as that sounds, that's because we are the worst judges of our own music. I could spend fucking 50 grand on this like retro synthesizer or whatever. I could go to Abbey Road in London. I could fucking make my own guitar using the endangered trees of like...
That'd be a really irresponsible thing to do.
Yeah, it would. I could do all that shit and think, oh yeah, this is so artsy, so crafty, and I could write a shit song with it all. The end product is what matters. I was in South Korea last week for a festival, and there was a gig happening there that I only went to because a certain artist was playing. I went to that gig, I saw that artist, I spent money in that venue, I bought drinks. That means that that artist is worth something because I went out of my way to go somewhere to see it. They didn't ask me to come and see them, they didn't come up to me and say, hey Joe, would you mind coming to our gig and supporting? It'd be really nice to see you there. I saw on social media that they were playing there and I thought, fuck, I want to go and see them. Do you understand that? I wanted to go to see them. They didn't ask me, they didn't come grovelling to my feet, they didn't come, oh it'd be really helpful if you'd buy one of our t-shirts to show your support to your local scene. They didn't do any of that shit. They made fucking good music, they put on an awesome show, and they made me want to go and see them. So again, I'm not trying to be mean, I'm not trying to be cynical, I'm not saying that things aren't worth supporting, I'm just saying that everything in the world has a value. If you're not as good as you could be, then you maybe don't have the amount of value that you potentially could have. If you are a fucking awesome band that, yes, you put a lot of time and effort into your music, but the end product is objectively good, then you are far more likely to be worth something than bands who write shit songs, as sad as it sounds. If someone came up to me and they was like, oh, this venue's at risk of closing down because no one really goes and spends money there, do you mind coming and showing your support and helping the venue through this rough patch? And I'd be like, why? What do they have that I can't get at the other venue that's next door? Why are they any better than them? If there is a better option on the table for me, why would I not go to that one?
It's kind of like saying this roller cola shit, cheap ass cola is about to go out of business. Please buy it instead of Pepsi or Coca-Cola. And you could quite easily justify saying, no, it's shit. Why can't we do that with
because
art?
It's the direct creation of a person who thinks themselves to be an artist. And if we say, no, sorry, the thing that you're making isn't too good, I don't want to spend money on it, that is almost an insult to that. It's seen as an insult to that person, but in reality it isn't. If Lenny came up to me and was like, oh, I've made this shirt, I've sewn this shirt and I've drawn this artwork and it was shit, I'd be like, Lenny, that's shit, I'm not buying that off you. But if Lenny wrote a song and it was like, oh, this is for really tough time in my life, I really hope you enjoy it, I'd be less likely to say, well, no, I'd tell Lenny that was shit, but I'd be less likely to criticise it because art is seen as such a personal thing, whereas average products like food and drink aren't.
I might have mentioned this before, but most people don't like your music. Adele is a fucking huge artist and she gets millions and millions of listens. She does not get 3.5 billion listens. Meaning, most people in the world don't listen to Adele. So most people definitely will not listen to you. Sorry, but the quicker you accept it, and the quicker all artists accept it, the kind of happier you'll be.
Yeah, you need to be thinking, what kind of music can I make that, one, I could be really good at, and two, people want to hear. There's no point making some artsy fucking prog rock that like you use all these weird sounds with if it's shit, if people don't want to hear it. You've got to make something that people want to hear. You're creating a product that you want people to buy into. That's not going to happen if the product is shit or unmarketable. In some cases, there will be a really good artist in a local scene that is really good and they never get anywhere and they break up, and then a few years later people discover them and be like, oh shit, these are really good, why didn't I go and see them at that time? And yeah, you should be out supporting the local bands in your scene that are good, okay? One, if there is a shit band playing and you go and support them for the sake of supporting them and you say, oh yeah, you were really good. One, you're kind of fueling the flame that sets them off thinking they're really good when they're not, which is detrimental to them because they could be improving themselves if they realised that they weren't that good. If there is a local artist in your scene that is making music that you actually like, go and buy it, because you like it, and therefore it is worth your money. If you like it, it's worth buying.
Support
Simple
things
as
with
that.
your wallet.
Yeah, support things with your wallet. Support things that are worth supporting. Support things that are good. And yes, I know it's a hard thing to consider, saying, oh, there's this new band that's playing, they've been going for a few years, but I don't really want to go and see them because they're a bit shit. That should be okay to say, but because of how afraid people are of criticising art, well, in the real world of criticising art, I know it happens a lot on the internet, then that's a problem, I think. That's something that people need to get over. People need to start looking at music objectively in the same way that you would look at a sandwich, right? If you went to really nice baker and you found a fucking awesome sandwich, you'd be like, yeah, that's worth £3. If you went to some scraggy petrol station and there was like a fucking ham sandwich that looked like it was roadkill, you wouldn't buy it, would you? You'd look at that and think, that is shit. We don't have that same mentality with music. And part of me thinks we should. If you went up to a band and you said, you are shit, here are things that you could do better, that band would then feel more pressure to improve. And while, yes, it would be really horrible to say, sorry, you are shit, that would be a really horrible thing to hear. I know I'd hate to hear that my band was shit, although I have heard it a few times. I'd be almost grateful to that person for being honest and giving me things that I need to improve on. Does that make sense, Lenny?
Yeah, but I also think that anyone making sandwiches, you still would feel bad about going up to someone and saying, your sandwich is shit. But really, the best way, as we've just said, is support with your wallet. Not supporting something with your wallet as well gives the exact same kind of effect. If you don't buy stuff, if the shit venues don't get customers, then they run out of business. And that is what's happening, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No. From the perspective of an artist, you have to be good. There's no question about it. You have to be good. If you want support, if you want your music to be worth something, if you want praise and admiration and people to buy into you as an artist, be good. Be the absolute fucking best that you can be 100% of the time. Criticise everything you do all the time. Think, oh, how could I do this better? How could I play this riff better? How could I write this song a little better? How could I make this mix a little better? And yes, obviously you run into the potential trap of overproducing or overthinking things, but sometimes thinking about things a little bit more comes in handy, maybe.
And ask for actual honest criticism from people.
Yeah.
And don't get pissy about negative opinions, because they're the best opinions to have. Or have people give you.
And don't take what your mum says about your band to be absolute fact. If you play at your school venue and your mum comes and says, oh, you were really good, I'm really proud of you, that doesn't mean shit. She has to say that. So as a closing statement, treat the music industry like a business. Treat your music like a product that either has value or doesn't have value. Make it the absolute best that you can. If it's not working, change things up. If people aren't latching on and it's just not getting anywhere, change things up. Make it better. There is always a way to be better. In every single walk of life, there is always a way to be a little bit better at what it is you're doing. And I believe in you to find that way. I think Kevin Spacey said this in House of Cards once, but you are owed nothing. Just because you are a musician and you're making music and you're recording music and you're playing gigs and you're doing all that shit, that doesn't mean you're owed any money because of it. Any other band could replace you like that. That was a shit click. That was an even shitter click. There we go. Treat it like a business, make your product as good as humanly possible, and I believe in you to be able to do that. Thank you very much for watching this video. I realise this has been a bit of a rant, but ranting is something that I do quite often, as Lenny will know.
I can confirm that to be true.
And I think it was something that needed ranting about, because I think it's a misconception that people have. People want to be seen as, oh, I'm out supporting the local music industry, I'm buying all these shit band CDs, when in reality they shouldn't, and they're actually kind of making the problem worse by fueling the shit. But you know, I'm going on a tangent again. Thank you very much for watching to the end of this video if you have done so. And have a good day.
See you later.